We all know that media has become a greater influence in our lives, especially for teens. But how has the greater influence of media affected teens in the LGBTQ community? We'll start off with statistics. In 2006 to 2007, 1.3% of recurring characters in TV were LGBT. In 2019 to 2020, 10.2% of recurring characters in TV were LGBT. These numbers have increased by almost 10% in 12 years. So it is obvious that there is an increase happening. But let's go back to the basics. LGBTQIA+ stands for lesbian, a term generally used by women attracted to women. Gay, a term that can be used to describe any homosexual person, but also in this case describes men attracted to men. Bisexual, a term that means being attracted to both men and women, or now more recently being used to describe one being attracted to their own sex and one other. Transgender, when one's gender does not match the gender they were born with or first assigned. Queer, a term that started as a slur that the LGBTQ community has readopted as an umbrella term for anyone who is not heterosexual, and can also be used if someone doesn't want to use labels. Intersex, a term used for a variety of conditions in which the person is born with a reproductive or sexual anatomy that doesn't seem to fit the typical definitions of female or male. And asexual, one who has a lack of sexual attraction towards others, but can still experience romantic attraction. Now, we use queer or LGBT, LGBTQ+, to incorporate all of those terms. It is just an overarching phrase, so you don't have to say LGBTQIA+ every time. In the first study, they explored different ways that LGBTQ adolescents faced adversity based on external factors like school, family, church, etc. In this study, the queer teens reported that they had experienced disconnect, victimization, which is the act of singling someone out for cruel or unjust treatment, and a lack of acceptance from family members. At school, queer teens experienced bullying, anti-gay victimization, and even had their belongings stolen or damaged. Religion can be a support for queer teens, but it can also embrace homophobia. In the study, the main outcome for the LGBTQ teens was an overarching lack in sense of belonging, and this is a term that will reappear later in this video. This study, done in 2015, explored whether media had a positive effect on queer youth, specifically researching its effect on resilience. You've probably heard the term resilience before, and maybe even resilience theory. Resilience theory argues that it's not the nature of adversity that is most important, but how we deal with it. When we face adversity, misfortune, or frustration, resilience helps us bounce back. It helps us survive, recover, and even thrive in the face and wake of misfortune. And these queer teens have faced a lot of adversity and misfortune. So the study explored media and its possible positive influence on identity formation and self-perception, as well as a source for both comfort and pride. Participants articulated 4 different categories in which media helped them. In the first category, it was coping through escapism. The media for these teens in this case has become a way to be distracted from the problems they face in their day-to-day life. And feeling stronger. The queer youth could identify with the characters or the storyline, giving them motivation in life. They also found this motivation through connecting with others on social media, decreasing the feeling of being alone, or increasing their sense of belonging. Fighting back. They used media to unite and fight back against their oppressors, such as making content to spread awareness by sharing their experiences of homophobia and transphobia. Lastly, finding and fostering a community. Media helped the queer teens connect in more ways than one. In the study, a participant even mentioned the show Glee as a source of connection.
Because you're all minorities. You're in the Glee Club.
Media also helped the queer youth deal with the stigma they experience, again, creating a greater sense of belonging. Media has been a major factor in helping queer adolescents. Although it has a long way to go in regard to representation, it has been a mainly positive tool and coping mechanism for queer adolescents.